so many people to talk to, so I've got them, but they're laying up there on the dresser. And I know now why they're laying on the dresser.
Well, Lodema, the way I usually start out is for you to say your name and how old you are, when you was born, stuff like that. And then I want you to talk about your earliest childhood and what you remember growing up in your family.
Well, my name is Lodema Kincheloe Perry. I was born October the 4th, 1929. At Grandpa and Grandma's house is where I was born there.
Is that Aunt Daisy and Uncle Bob's house?
Daisy, Bob and Daisy's house. That was where I was born. And I've lived in this area all my life. I've lived here on this place after I married Jewel in 1947, after I married Jewel Perry. I've lived here for, it'll be 70 years this fall.
Wow.
So
Can
70
I
years
tell
in
her?
July.
Can I tell her something?
Sure.
Every time I go by your road, I'll say, Lodema lives up there. One of these days, I'm going up there.
Well,
All of these years.
it took a while, but you finally made it, didn't you?
Yeah, just about a month ago, me and my other daughter was down here. And I told her the same thing. One of these days, I'm going up there.
And so you were, how far from, I know where Aunt Daisy and Uncle Bob's place was, so how far from there did you live when you were growing up?
Oh, is it about, how far is it, Bill? About a mile and a half or 2 miles?
Oh, it's not that far. It's about a mile.
About a mile.
Yeah.
We lived from Grandpa and Grandma Kincheloe's.
Mm-hmm.
And
Where did you go to school at?
Elk Creek. Went to school at Elk Creek for all but 2 years. We went to Idaho when I was about 6, and we was out there for 2 years. And outside of that, I went all my schooling at Elk Creek in competition.
So you left and then you came back and went to Elk Creek again?
I went to Elk Creek, and then we left, and I went back to Elk Creek when we come back. We come back to the same place we left.
And competition, you went there for high school?
That was a high school, yeah.
We just went by there and took pictures of it.
Yeah.
It was nice to see that they're fixing it up.
You went there too, didn't you?
Oh, yeah, one time. And I lived with the Hell Houses and helped Bessie with the store and went to school.
My freshman year, Cleo stayed with us, and she went to school.
Yes,
And
yes.
How did you get to school?
we walked to the creek, Elk Creek up there. We walked there, and the school bus come to. There was not a school bus, but a form of a school bus. We called it the bread wagon. It was kind of an old van that they'd pick us up in.
Did it belong to the school or did it belong to the person that drove it?
I think it belonged to the school. I'm not sure. But I'm pretty sure it belonged to the school.
So when you went to school, did you have favorite teachers or subjects?
I had one favorite one. I went to him 4 years, and I married him.
Jewel,
Oh, of course.
I forgot to tell her that.
Now, was he a high school teacher?
No, he was my grade school teacher. I went to him for 4 years. Then he left. I graduated from 8th grade to him. He left. I went to high school, and my junior year of high school, he come back, and we started going together, and I married him as soon as I got out of high school.
Well, he must have known you were smart, so it was like,
He always said he had one student he couldn't teach, and he just married her and kept trying.
that's fun.
Well, he taught at Cheerful Hill, too.
He was.
Cheerful Hill, he taught at Cheerful Hill.
Well, he never really taught there. He substituted for Lester, or I think it was Lester, because he's told about going and teaching for him while they was, sick or something, while he had to do something. But he never was hired to teach there.
Yeah.
Because he taught Elk Creek and Glenwood and Coldwater. It's the 3 schools he taught in Wright County. And then he come to Leclerc County and taught. He taught over 35 years, but he taught the rest of them in Leclerc County.
So how many brothers and sisters did you have?
I've got 2 brothers, twin brothers and a sister.
And what was their names?
Don, Vaughn, and Kay.
And when you were growing up and went to school, like what were your favorite games?
I'm sorry.
Favorite games at recess?
Oh, my least favorite was ball games because I never was good at sports. But we played lots of games like drop the handkerchief and ring around the rosy and
Dodgeball.
throw the ball, batty over, and air base, and
What was the last one? What
Dare
was the-
base.
Air base?
Dare
Dare.
Dare base.
Dare
Oh
base.
yeah, I played dare base.
and that's.
You
that's
described
good.
that game and it doesn't sound like it'd be that much fun, but I thought it was really fun. And who was your best friends in school?
Well, my best friend was Bonnie Hillhouse whenever I was in grade school, and we went all through high school. We kind of, I can't say drifted apart, but we got other friends when we were in high school that we would be close to, but we was always friends.
Where is she now?
Bonnie passed away a couple
Oh.
of years ago.
Oh, really? I always liked her.
Now, was she the family you lived with?
No,
No, that was a
just
different one.
relatives.
Oh, I see.
And Donnie passed away just about a week ago.
Oh, really? We stopped over here at competition and eat lunch. And this guy was in there and I kept thinking, well, he looks like somebody I know. And it was Robert Hillhouse's son.
David.
So I got
I
to talk
think
to
they
him.
keep the store over there on Tuesdays and let the storekeepers try to have a vacation, I
Yeah,
think.
he's helping out. The Finleys.
I forgot about that. But
I knew the Finleys too.
And so when you went to Elk Creek, did you have to walk quite a ways to school?
I walked to school. It wasn't very far, about a quarter of a mile or a little over maybe.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't very far.
And what kind of family life did you have? What was a normal day for you?
Well, I was an only child for 13 years. Mom and Dad didn't.
And
They had a
then-
second family. They had the rest of my brothers and sisters. They had them after I was 13 years old, nearly 14. So when I grew up, Ellis and Louise was my main playmates. They lived over my grandpa and grandma, and I went over there a lot. And we played together.
I know, remember when the twins was born, Herb went over to Aunt Daisy's and he couldn't even talk. They said he just held up 2 fingers. He was so excited.
Well, they was kind of expecting twins, but Mama made her clothes that she made for them. She made one pink outfit and one blue outfit, so she was. There's both
So
boys.
who had to wear the pink one?
Dom.
Where's the boys now?
They're both in Kansas City,
Are they?
and Kay is too. Well, in
That area.
Kay's in Belton, and Vaughn's in Blue Springs, and Don's in Lee Summit. But I just say Kansas City.
Kansas City, yeah.
Pretty close together.
And I did tell him the other day about on Sundays when I was just a little girl. Grandpa and Grandma Caudle lived over on the hill, up there above where Yuns live.
Yeah.
And on Sunday afternoons, the family would get together, and Uncle Frank and Aunt Eula and Dad and Mom and Grandpa and Grandma would go over to see Grandpa and Grandma Caudle, just several afternoons on Sunday. And I remembered one day, it was real muddy, maybe a day kind of like, it was more muddy than this. And our Dad talking about he was just going to mire up. And he had me on his back, and I just thought, sure, we was going to go completely under. I was just a little fella, but I do remember that whenever I got older, they had the boat down there at the river, and we'd go across the river on the boat, and then we'd climb that steep hill up to Grandpa and Grandma's.
Oh, yeah.
That was a steep hill
That
too.
bluff.
It was a bluff. It just kind of had a path around that bluff up to Grandpa and Grandma's.
Well, Mom said they would get their mail at Uncle Bob and Aunt Daisy's. And you tell the story, Mom.
Well, we'd get the mail at your house, and Uncle Bob would get it and bring it to his house, And then we'd go down that bluff yelling, and he'd hear us, and he'd get in the boat and bring it over to us.
Well, I didn't remember him getting the mail there, but I do remember that they could leave the boat down there at the boat landing, and
Yeah.
that was our way of getting across all the time.
Yeah, and he'd hear us hollering, come down over that bluff, and he'd meet us down there.
That bluff was steep.
Oh, it was awful.
And then you were telling about Aunt Daisy always working, always busy.
Yeah.
And then you was talking about her chickens. Was it
She
chickens?
said incubators.
Mhm.
She said
Incubation.
incubators
Yeah,
in the
it's
basement.
still up there in the cellar.
No,
Really?
No, it's not.
It's right here.
Oh.
Out here in the barn
it's out here in the barn.
It's out here in the barn.
Yep.
When did you bring it home?
last
was-
year.
It,
I
Last
thought it
Just
year.
the rats
There
or
was-
something was chewing the legs up
they
on
was
it.
tearing it up, rats or,
Possum
and then
or-
it had a lot of dirt in
Farm
Come
dogs
in
or
on it.
something, they pushed dirt over on it from
and
the house.
so I told them, just get it out of here. So we took it and we got it out here in the barn.
A lot of things
Well,
go on I don't know about anymore.
I'd go down there with her to check at an incubator. I stayed with her, it seemed like nearly a whole winter while Uncle Bob was in the hospital.
Well, I know Grandpa was in and out of the hospital some, but I can't remember, but you may have, I can't remember that.
Surely he wasn't in there all winter, but it seemed like I was there all winter.
Well, maybe you stayed when he come back a while.
And we had cornbread and milk every
that was-
night for supper.
That was what I lived on. I mean,
Oh,
they
yeah.
made a big pan of
I
cornbread.
still
at noon.
like it.
I do too, and they always made a big pan of cornbread for dinner, and then we had cornbread and milk for supper, and when Grandma was old and she was living with Mom and Dad, she would always fix her cornbread and milk at noon and set it back so it would be, she'd eat it for supper.
Yeah,
So that,
yeah.
She would mix it at noon and leave it for her till evening.
So it'd be soft.
So it'd be soft, or so it'd be kind of sour, or what?
No,
well,
it
when Grandma was older, she would go ahead and put her cornbread in her milk at noon,
Yeah.
and I
It'd
guess
be
it was,
soft.
maybe she thought it was easier to digest that way or something,
Yeah.
I don't know, but
Soften it up,
anyway.
maybe.
Yeah, the bread was soft.
Mm-hmm.
What's the age difference between you and Wilma?
Well, I'm 87,
I'm 88.
you're 88.
Mom wins.
I was 88 in October.
Well,
I knew you was a little bit younger.
I was 87 in October, so we're,
Oh, just a
Yeah.
year apart.
I knew you was a little older than me, but I couldn't remember how much older, so. And
And
Louise,
you knew Cleo passed away.
I was thinking I'd heard she had passed away. How long
She
ago
lived
was
in
it?
Texas. It's been about 2 years.
Is it, well,
And she only had one child, Pam. And Pam still lives in Texas and never got married. And she's probably 60 but now.
well,
But she never did get married.
She's probably a little over 60.
And she's
She's a
an
little younger than me.
artist.
she's an artist.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah, I don't know exactly what she does, but she's a pretty good artist. But she doesn't like paint pictures or something like that. She does more like graphic design or
She does baseboard signs like advertisement, like you see.
she's creative. She
signs.
does the creation part. She doesn't just do the manual stuff.
what
But
about
I'm not sure exactly what it is.
Buttercup?
Margie.
Margie lives in Texas too.
Well,
I think she's living with one of her sons. She had 3 sons and a stepdaughter. And I think she's living with one of her boys now. Jan's in St. Charles. And Buster's in Columbia. And Bill's in Houston, Missouri.
And Paris passed away.
Yeah, Paris passed away.
which one is it? Robert, now he's, whose son is he, Robert?
Oh, that's Paris's?
Paris's son?
Yeah, he lives close to Lebanon.
Yeah,
Yeah, he
on
lives
the
in
other side.
Lebanon. His daughter was, his wife was a daughter of,
She's a dad, parent.
well, his daughter of, what was her
Georgie
name?
Tuck.
Huh?
Georgie Tuck.
Georgie Tuck, and she was a Dowden.
Oh, yeah, George is her name.
She's on our cemetery board, so
Oh,
we, the Kincheloe Cemetery Board.
And is that the cemetery beside Aunt Daisy's house in that area? We were talking about that today, some of the people that was buried there.
in New Home.
Did you go to, have you been to the cemeteries?
No. But I was talking to Buster and he said he had to send you some money because to help keep up the cemetery.
Well, we need money to help keep up the Kincheloe Cemetery. All the people that's buried there nearly are so far removed from the people that's alive today that we don't get very much
Much
money
help
anymore.
on
No,
that.
not much help.
There were over on the farm that we lived on, you know, they had a church there, and there were, like, was it twins that were buried there? There was 2 little graves there. Remember along the road? Do you not remember that? Well, that's only 2 people I know buried over there, but there was like 2 little graves, and I heard it was twins, but it might have just been 2 kids. But it's right along the road, and it was just kind of forgotten, and some of those kids used to go there and clean it up and take care of it and stuff like that, but now it's just long forgotten. Nobody knows who's buried there or anything.
I don't know what the only cemetery I can think of like is that Graven Cemetery that's right down here on the highway. It's kind of kept up now. It's kind of in some person's yard, but I can't think of.
I like your little things up there. I've got
Oh yeah, I love those.
I got a butterfly in my kitchen windows.
I've got some butterflies, but they kind of rotate my little solar people for kind of the season. As you can see, we're still in the Christmas mode here, so.
Yeah, I don't even have my Christmas tree down.
Well, I have got my Christmas tree down. I got it took down, but that's all.
I felt very un-Christmassy. I didn't put anything up this year.
They went to
Nothing.
Florida for Christmas.
My daughters only get so much vacation, so instead of us trying to all get together, we're all different states and stuff, we decided just all go to Florida and spend time together. So. In lieu of Christmas at home. I've got one in Chicago and one in Charleston, South Carolina.
Well,
And then we have, you know, some of the family that meets us is in California. So. And it's really nice down there.
Yeah,
It was very warm.
that sun looks so good, don't it?
talking about warm, Bill carried in a dandelion bloom because he come in from feeding us.
Really? Oh my God.
So is that what you and Jewel did then? Y'all farmed after, or did he continue to teach, or?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Did you and Jewel farm, or did he continue to teach, or how did you make your living?
We milked cattle. We had dairy cattle, and we milked the whole time he was teaching school.
Where did
Bill
he
come back
teach
here
at?
in 72, and he started milking then.
Mhm.
And
Where did Jewel teach at?
he taught his first years in Elk Creek and Coldwater and Glenwood in Wright County. Then he taught rural schools here in Laclede County, Franklin, Newton, Upper Odell, and Independence. And then he taught the consolidated schools. He was principal at C5 out there by Lebanon, on the other side of Lebanon, and C4 down here on 32.
And he always like commuted to those places?
He drove all the places from home, and he never did go and stay anywhere to teach.
Do you have any stories about your dad and mom, or your grandma and grandpa?
Oh,
I can remember Uncle Bob riding up to Grandma's on a white horse. That's the only time I think I remember
Well,
ever
I
seeing
was
him.
telling some of the kids he never owned a car.
I think they had a car one time. We've got a picture. I don't think it was his car, but Vera and Aunt Cap talked about him having a car one time. I don't think he had it very long. He always had a team wagon and horses. He rode a horse most everywhere he went. And if he went to the store, he took the
The
wagon. We'd go to Earl Austin's store. We'd cross the river down there on the south side of his house. We'd cross the river, go to Earl Austin's stores, which is up on, what highway is it, on 95?
It's on
Highway.
AF.
Huh? AF, it's AF, yeah.
Well, I guess it didn't probably make
They
much sense
tore
to
that
him
old store down.
to have a car and drive all the way around when you could take a horse and just go across the rivers.
Grandpa never had a car. Mom and Dad had a car, and we would go around once in a while. We had a store closer to that we went most of the time called Jerkdale was the store we usually went to.
Yeah, but I forgot
But
about
Earl
that.
Austin's store, they carried shoes and clothing and a lot of nails and bead and
Yeah,
wire and things like that that a person couldn't get at just a regular little country
and you had to go
stores.
there sometimes just
So-
to get stuff.
They would go every once in a while. They would go take the car and go up there. But they
Did
had
you
to
ever
around
go
where they-
farther than that to go to stores, or did you pretty much meet your needs there?
We pretty much. It was very rare to go to town. We pretty much did all of our trading at either Earl Austin's or Jerktail, and maybe at Christmas time a person might go to Hartville. And when we went to town, Mom and Dad would go in and buy some cheese and crackers, and we'd have cheese and crackers for dinner, and that was a treat.
Yeah. We were talking about how everybody in this area is a little isolated from their neighbors. You know, it's not like living in Columbia, Missouri. You know, you're further away from people. And we were talking about how people.
I live out in the middle of the field.
Well, it's a good place to live.
Yeah.
But we were talking about how
Out
it
the
was
field.
hard for people to see each other. And then Jewel and Mom got talking about the Lynchburg picnic and how they look forward to it every year to go to that. And it was like maybe a 3-day thing or something.
Yeah, I think it was a 3-day thing.
Do you remember going to that?
Yes, I do. I was telling Jennifer just the other day, which she's sitting over there recording too. When I was just a little girl, I never liked to have anything tied on me. Mom we was all going to go to the Lynchburg picnic, and we was over at Grandma's and getting ready to go. And Mom put this dress on me, and she tied the belt too tight. I remember crying because my belt was too tight. But anyway, that night we all loaded into the wagon. Mom and Dad and Grandpa and Grandma. I don't know if that Vera and that Cap was still at home when they went. I can't remember for sure. And I don't really remember if Uncle Frank and Aunt Yule was living down there at that time and they went. But anyway, it's a wagon full of us.
And it was
The
pulled by
wagon.
horses?
What?
And it was pulled by horses?
Yeah. And we went across the river and around the road that went around Royster Place. I'm sure you don't know what I'm talking about. But anyway, we went around that way and went over to Lynchburg to the picnic that night, and then
That
come
would be
back.
quite a trip.
It was quite a trip in a wagon, but it really wasn't as far as it would seem going the way we went.
Yeah.
But anyway, we went by wagon and come back with it.
And so what was your favorite thing there? At the picnic, what was your favorite thing?
Getting a bottle of pop.
Oh, I can understand.
I really don't remember any entertainment then. I was too little to remember that, but I do remember when we'd go to picnics and anything like that. Well, the treat was to get a bottle of pop. And,
Yeah.
that was a rare thing to get a bottle of pop.
Or the ice cream supper up
Right,
at
yeah,
Earl Austin's.
Have ice cream. Once in a while, somebody'd set up a movie, a tent, and they'd have a movie.
Yeah,
Outside
there in
movie, yeah.
Lynchburg.
And so this would be a huge tent, and they would set up something to watch a movie, and like what kind of movies?
Western.
I guess I remember westerns.
Yeah.
I think, I can't remember any silent movies here, but when we was in Idaho, I do remember in the school, they'd have show a movie once in a while, and it was a silent movie. But they did have the talking movies then too, because I went to the theater, go to shows then, and they were talking movies. But there were still some silent movies going along then.
When the Jewel and Mom was talking about the Lynchburg picnic, Jewel really liked the merry-go-round. And she said for a nickel, she could ride the merry-go-round.
She liked the what?
The merry-go-round. And Mom liked the Ferris wheel.
I guess they had them. I don't remember the.
She may have been
I don't
too
remember
Yeah,
small.
she might have.
all those things. I think we went more than one time. That's the only time I remember going in a wagon, but I just don't remember.
But Daddy, he had this flatbed truck, and he'd take all of us and let us out at the picnic. Then he'd drive around on every corner. There's a bunch of people waiting to catch a ride to that picnic. And he'd make 2 or 3 trips, hauling people to that picnic.
Speaking of your dad, can you pull that picture up, Bill, that we said was finest?
I have it on
Anyway,
my
we got
phone.
it broke down. It's
Jennifer's got it.
My daddy had the big hairdo.
Well,
Did you have that family picture that I sent you? Did you have it besides the?
My grandma has this
Yeah.
picture.
You
I've
had
been
it?
scanning
They had
her
the one.
pictures on the
They had
back.
the one with the
my
group of
It
the-
says
Okay.
finest
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know if you have it or
I've
not.
seen this
so I went ahead and
picture.
put it in.
He's walking a barbed wire fence.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing that.
Oh my,
I've seen that.
seen that picture, but I don't have it.
I think Grandma
Oh,
had that.
show that to Pat.
I've seen it.
I bet Jan's got it.
I've seen that. Yeah, I think Jan's got it.
Well, I've been trying to go through her old pictures and
Yeah.
take a picture of them, and then I'm putting them on Google Photos so she
Okay.
can look at them and Dad can look at them. And
Yeah.
this is a picture.
And have
I
them.
didn't know whether you have it or not. I thought maybe she might like to have a copy of it. Grandma Caudle, and she always had a box full of quilt scraps everywhere she went. She
Yes,
was always
she
quilting.
did.
You want this one, your dad got you, what you want?
Did you know I was named after her?
Who?
Me?
Isabel.
She's
Wilma Bell.
Yeah.
Bell.
Yeah, she was called Bell.
And out of all of my
Oh
grandkids,
my goodness.
only one is named after me.
Well,
Well,
Ainsley Bell.
I remember Grandma, great grandma.
Do you really?
I remember.
yeah, we've got pictures of Grandma.
take that cow.
Oh, she
I
cooked
feel
them.
very fortunate to have been able to see my great grandmother.
Yes.
I remember my great grandmother.
I know you do too.
My great grandmother, Grandma Daisy, died after Grandma Cletus did, so I actually remember her a little better than I do.
Well, she lived to be almost 100, didn't she? I was telling Mom, just looking at the dates on her birthday.
And Daisy was really small.
Yeah.
I really thought a lot of her.
We always measured with Grandma, thinking when we got as tall as Grandma, we'd be
Grown.
Yeah.
And my grandkids measure with me. They've all outgrown me, don't they? My great grandkids have all outgrown me.
Mom and I went to a genealogy meeting in Lebanon here back in November, and one of the Caudles,
It was Grandpa Ellis's sister, Rebecca, that married the Bennett. It was one of her descendants is who it was.
had done genealogy research and had verified our ancestors all the way back to Jamestown.
Oh my goodness.
That's how long they've been here. They'd come down,
Grandpa Ellis's mother, Rebecca Hutchins. It come down through her.
Oh my goodness.
I would think you could get back there pretty far with the genealogy thing.
There's just certain things that the Society,
Jamestown society. or
There's certain
something like
things that they would accept, certain
that, to prove it.
proof that they would accept, but she had gone back and got through all of them, and it
Wow.
was a member of that.
Some people put so much work into it. I don't do very much, but I find it interesting because you can
Right.
find out a lot about your family, just
Yeah.
little things in there.
Did you go to my tree on Ancestry to
Uh-uh.
find any of this stuff?
I haven't.
Well, there's a lot of stuff there.
Okay.
Uh,
Well, now when I'm working on stuff, there'll be the little leaf come up, and I will go to things, and it will say who has put that on there. So I'm seeing that stuff, but I'm not. I didn't go into your
I
tree.
don't bet,
What?
I've never met Bill. I have never
Whenever,
met any of your kids.
Well,
got to believe
I
that
have a
little bit.
daughter.
Yeah, get out of the sun.
Uh,
She lives up around close to Springfield.
What
Between
I can
Stratford
do
and
if you-
Springfield.
Yeah.
If you give me your
I just got
email
the two
address,
children.
Oh,
I can
really?
send you
I
an
didn't
invitation
even
to it,
know
and you can look at everybody on
you
there,
had
Okay.
including all the living people.
Well, I'm very
Otherwise, you
lucky to
can't
be
look at
able
the
to
living
have
people,
Bill
but
living here.
Okay.
I can send you
Oh,
an invitation
yeah.
to it.
What
You
the
can
heck?
look at all of them, and there's an awful lot of
He
stuff on
eats-
there.
Okay.
He eats
Yeah,
down
And
here,
you'll,
and stays down here, but
you'll just be interested in the
his
caudal side of it.
home is up there, and he sleeps up there.
I've got a
Well,
lot of people from this whole
Well, at
area.
least he's
Yeah.
here.
If there's any kind of
close
short
to
tail
him
relation,
if
I've
needed.
worked them in
And
somehow
then
or
this
another. and
granddaughter
followed
lives
Oh,
at
that's good.
that trailer out there.
And
by the
people come
highway.
and
Oh, she
So she's
does.
here a lot.
I'm look over the Porter Chapel Cemetery down here and the Kincheloe, and people come and then they want
He
some
looks
information.
like the
And so I'll
Kincheloes.
start doing genealogy
Built that.
research
Well,
and follow them
he sure
back. And
does.
then I'll find a connection to my tree. I think there's something, I don't know, 12, 13, 14,000 people included in the tree, but
Gosh.
it's a lot. And then like Jennifer married a Tullis, and I've got a lot of their people. But
Yeah.
you can still go and you can do a search for an individual person to coddle, and then you can find all the information on it. And it's not complete. I'd have to work on it day and night the rest of my life to get everything in there. But
Oh yeah.
there's a,
Well, we were
There's an awful
real
lot in
surprised to see the picture that you posted on there. That really got us excited.
Oh,
We had never seen that
Otis'
picture.
brother, he just can't wait to see it.
well, there's a lot of information, and I enjoy messing with it. Mom messed with genealogy for years, and
And now we have so many more tools.
yeah, well, mom used to go. Dad would be involved in lodge work and school work, and Mom would go with him, and she'd go to libraries and study genealogy, and Dad went to his meetings. But she was a dyed-in-the-wool researcher.
She
I-
started it, huh?
Yeah, and she's borrowed pictures from everybody that she could borrow a picture from, whether they were related or not related.
Well, I put a message out to Jan's son because she got grandma's photos. And I put a message out to her son that we would like to have some of the family photos shared with us, and that in particular for Aunt Daisy and Uncle Bob, because I was trying to get some for you. I haven't heard back from them. I
Right.
asked them to make some and send me some, so.
Jennifer, go out and get that Grandma Kincheloe's album. There's a lot of
Go out where?
Bill.
Just go out.
There's a lot of caudal pictures in there.
Oh,
You might
that
like to
cloth
get
one,
Mommy's.
is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
The cloth one? Okay.
It's in out here.
It might be.
Is it back here?
It's back there in the utility room. Yeah, it's put up there.
Well, and then Mom was talking about Grandma and Grandpa Cottle, Fonus's parents, that lived up on the hill, and they lived in the 2-story house. And then they kind of gave that up to their son
They
and
had
his
a big
family.
log room on the front, and that was her kitchen.
Who wants to look at it?
There's just a lot in there that's not
I don't have my
caudals.
glasses on. I'm gonna go get glasses.
Had it over
Oh,
here.
I
and
don't have my
I'll
glasses.
find the kind of go through find the caudal pictures.
I ran off and left my purse at home. So I'm having to bum money on my
Grandma
mom.
Cottle would make these biscuits, and they'd just be yellow with baking powders. And if you said anything about it, she'd say, "Well, just put a little dab."
Well,
But they're so
does that sound
strong.
familiar? Jennifer's been trying to get Mom to tell her some recipes. Well, Mom don't know what the recipes are. She puts a little of this in there and
A
a little
little
of that.
dab of
It's,
And it changes every time she makes it.
I
But
made
she-
pancakes one time, and these relatives that were visiting said, "Now that's a good pancake. I want the recipe." And I go, "Well, okay." And so then I had to make the recipe and measure things so I could tell her how much of each thing to put in there, because it was a dab
But
of
they
this, a dab
was
of
so
that.
strong with baking powders, you could smell them before you got to the house. And cabbage, she cooked cabbage every day.
Yeah.
Cook what?
Cabbage.
Have you seen pictures of great grandma's mother, Jane Tubner?
Who?
No.
Who?
Jane
No.
Tubner,
Who is that?
My
that'd be
grandma-
Isabel's mother.
Okay. no.
Grandma called
Jane
it the Tubner.
Yeah. I have not seen any pictures of her.
I haven't either.
Her maiden name was Beeman. Jane Beeman. They came from
I don't think I heard them in here.
Sedalia, Missouri.
I don't
She
think-
married
Oh, there
David
we are.
Tubner.
Yeah, that's right.
He was German.
There's Uncle Vitus and Uncle Amy.
I've got
Oh,
pictures
my.
of them.
They're
You
on
know,
the Google
we-
Photos. I just put them on there the other
Did
day.
you?
Phil had an
But,
enlargement at that.
Jane
And
is
him
buried
and
up
his
there,
wife
right?
got divorced and he left
What,
it
2 graves?
there and
I
the
guess
house burnt.
Lawrence
Well,
and Jane,
I'd
and
Be
then
glad to share any
Isabel
of these
and
pictures
Ellis
with you. I mean,
are buried in the
it's so
Kincheloe
easy
Cemetery
to.
toward the
Oh,
back.
There's-
okay.
I
Jane
think that's
Tubner
Uncle-
and David separated,
I think that's
and
Uncle Amos, but I
David
can't tell.
died in
Here's a lot of
Kansas.
pictures of I don't know who they
And
are, but it's,
So-
you know,
From what-
Carlos was in them, went to Idaho.
What Mom said is
and,
that when
went to
Yeah.
the,
these pictures were in
Timber.
Grandma's
Yeah.
possession,
that's Daryl.
but Grandma never would say much about them. And through my
I don't
research,
think it's-
I went to investigate, and then we was trying to figure out who this individual was, this one picture.
I think
and,
that's about all the Cottle pictures I've got in here. I've
One
got,
day, I think it was Robert,
here's that picture.
had a
Uncle
picture of
Carl.
him, and it said,
Here.
uh,
Well,
David
I showed
Tubner.
you.
Oh,
and I
yeah.
said, Mom, this is
Nice pictures of Grandma Cottle's.
Grandma's
Did you have
dad,
that?
David
Here's-
Tubner. Well, why didn't she ever tell me anything about it?
No.
And then she went ahead
But
to
I
tell me that
remember when
uh,
they had Grandpa.
there was another
funeral,
sister.
It was
and
in the kitchen over there.
She had had
They
some children out of wedlock.
They had
and
his coffin in the
David
kitchen.
wanted to
They had
disown
his
her.
funeral.
But Jane wouldn't disown her.
I can't
So she
remember
stayed
that.
with the
I
family,
must, I
with
must
the
have
girls,
been about 12.
and David went to
I
Kansas.
can't understand why I wasn't there, but
But he fought in the Civil War,
And so you didn't know who he was till you saw this other
and I
picture.
can, till I saw the picture.
And until then, they just had a
I think
picture that
that's
was
all the Cottle
unlabeled.
pictures I've got in there.
Oh,
There's one of,
Probably, it'd
I
take
don't
me a
know,
minute
that's
to
a
draw
baby
this up, but I can
Uncle
find
Bird,
it better this way than I can the other way. I can show you some of this stuff.
Lodena, when you and Mom,
you ever seen that picture?
When you
Oh,
all-
I've got one of those.
Oh, that-
Yes, I do.
when you all find something
I
that
think
you
that's
remember a
cute.
story, then tell us about it, okay?
Well, I don't care.
I mean, you may or may not, but if you do.
I don't know any of the stories about Grandpa.
Black cat?
Have you got
Yeah.
any pictures?
Here's
of-
Uncle Dee's family. Have you got Uncle Dee's family? That's all his family there.
Oh, my. Be careful, take that out. I need to look at it. Oh, my goodness. They had a bunch, didn't they?
Yeah. And
But Tubner was a German. He came here from Germany. He was an immigrant from Germany.
Bill
Mom,
was
didn't
done-
you say that Grandma Cottle spoke a lot of German or something?
I don't know.
I was thinking you said she spoke a lot of German or.
Bill has had that DNA test.
Mhm.
And so he got a thing from someone, some time back, about wanting to know how he could be connected. It did come up through the Cardinals. And Bill finally narrowed it down to where we think it was one of Uncle Dee's boys. The guy had been adopted. He'd been put up for adoption, and he was just trying to find who his birth mother and father were. But anyway, at that time, we found out that one of Uncle Lee's daughters had wrote a book. She was 100 years old, and she had wrote
Oh,
a book. It's not a thick book, but Bill ordered it. And it tells the story of their life in the book. There's one mistake that she's in it that I'm sure she thought it was right, but she told about one of Uncle Dee's sisters a-dying, and Uncle Dee just had Aunt May and Ellie and Grandma,
Yeah.
and none of them had died, so it must have been one of her mother's sisters that died that she got mixed up in the story. But
Oh.
anyway, it's a good story. It's good. She wrote it when she's 100 years old.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
But it was quite a story. Anyway, it ended up in, was it Oregon?
I forgot where they were. They were in California
California,
before
yeah.
the guy got in touch with me from. I've had people get in touch with me from all over the United States wanting information.
Wow. Well, that's because you put in so much work on it, you and your mom.
But,
You have all the answers.
well, not all the answers, but I had the guy that was in Oregon was a Kincheloe, and his mother was his mother or his grandmother?
His father, I think.
His father.
Maybe.
It was his grandmother had his father illegitimately, but she had on the birth certificate it was a Kincheloe. And he was wanting to try to verify it. And so through research, I finally located some people that this father, he had went west also, had another family. And he got in touch with would have been a first cousin or something like that, I can't remember now, that was in Oregon. And they done DNA samples and it proved that he was actually a Kincheloe instead of a Brandstetter was the name he went by.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of fun.
We traced the Mings family back to Scotland, and then actually from Scotland to France. But they have what they call a castle. It's actually a tower house, but it's called a castle. And they have reunions there, and we all went over there. Me and my two daughters went just as a girl trip, and we were just going to go look at the area and see where my ancestors came from. And then we found out about the castle, and then we found out about the reunion, so we went to the castle during the reunion.
And Chrissy
And we
got
loved
married.
everybody. We loved everybody that took care of the castle, was on the board. We just had a grand time with them. And Chrissy, my daughter, said, "Oh, this would be a great place to get married." And I said, "Well, you need a boyfriend first." And she was like 40 years old at the time. So anyway, she found the love of her life. He was Irish descent, and he wore his kilt, and they got married in the castle. It was, Mom got to go to the wedding, and
I got a potato.
Well,
They said not bring anything
Yeah.
back,
you
but
keep telling people you're going to get arrested. Tell them to come after you.
I got a potato.
I told them, make her put that, don't let her take that potato,
Well,
and
they
then I
just
found out
plowed
later.
it
she was.
up and
That's
it's
John
laying
David
there
Cooper.
on the ground. And
That's who?
I just
that's
picked
John
it up.
David Cooper. That's Isabel's father.
He looks, he looks like a small
That'd be
baby.
very interesting.
Do you want to see that, Mom?
Oh my goodness.
That's your grandmother's.
He's not bad looking. Oh my goodness. Tubner.
Those pictures, like Bill probably told you, was in Grandma's pictures, but Grandma never told me who they were.
I think that happens a lot. People
And
have all these pictures, and
she just, I guess they felt bad toward him, and she just,
Now was they just the 3 kids or did it say?
well, there's Uncle John
And they bite.
and Grandma, and this,
Tabitha, I think was her name.
Tabitha, yeah.
Yeah.
I think we've got a picture.
Do you remember her?
Oh yeah.
You do?
Yeah. Daddy built a little house and her son Jim lived there on our place.
Mom, you gotta find that picture. The picture to Tabitha.
Well, I thought you had it on there.
I never did put it on here because I never was sure.
Oh, you,
Yeah, she was Grandma's sister.
oh, she's got my pictures out there now. I don't, my old pictures.
Well, let's see.
Anyway, we're pretty sure it's her because she would have been the only one at home. And, at that time. And it's the same brand, it's the same photographer, has taken all the pictures.
Mhm.
And
Do you know where that family reunion picture was taken?
it was taken at Grandpa's,
At the Bobby
Grandpa
place.
Kincheloe's.
Over there where the cemetery is, right in front of that house. But the house wasn't remodeled at the time.
It was before
Well,
they,
Mom thought it was their house, but it doesn't look
well,
like their house.
their house has been remodeled since then.
Okay,
Oh,
That was before the house was remodeled.
okay.
They remodeled that house after I was married. It was remodeled after 47, so,
So it looks different now.
yeah, it looked different. That house was originally, down on the river, and it was moved up there.
really?
And,
On logs.
on logs, they said they moved it
Oh,
on
my.
logs. In 1926, Dad said they put it on logs and they moved it up the hill. And they just moved the 2 big rooms, and then they built an upstairs, up top to it. They didn't have it upstairs when it was down on the river, and they put an upstairs in it and built the kitchen on and fixed the cellar. That was quite an undertaking.
Now, was the cellar that's at the river, was that part of the original house? Was that right there where the house is at, or was?
The two parts of the house that come from the river was the
I know that, but there's a cellar down there towards that old barn where Uncle Frank and Aunt Eula used to live.
It wasn't part of the house, no.
But was the house close to that at all?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where the original house was, the original house that when they homesteaded. That was where it was at. I don't know whether the cellar was made then or not. But
Now, no one lives in their old house now?
No.
no,
Jennifer, you've got John David Tubner on there. Did you maybe have that picture of?
If it was in that box, Dad, it's on there.
Let's
If I
see if I can find it.
I
I'd
don't know
like to
what picture it
if you
is.
remember.
That Uncle John, he lived with us.
I remember Uncle John, but I
He
don't.
lived with us forever.
There's some lady from Hawaii that corresponded with Bill for quite a while, getting information on the Tubners and that family.
Now, Mom, you said Uncle John. On which side of the family was that?
As Grandma's brother.
Okay.
And my mom couldn't stand him.
Some of his
He
family.
was nasty.
Was he dirty? Was he?
He blew his nose and just wipe it on his clothes till it just be slick. And when Mama washed his underwear, or winter underwear, she picked them up with a stick. Oh, they're so dirty. And he had his thumb cut off. And he'd take that stub and get after us kids with it.
I remember Uncle John, but I don't.
He lived.
I cannot
with us for a
believe the
while.
details that she can remember.
Oh, you would have been amazed at my grandpa. My grandpa, when he passed away, was 96, and he could remember everything
Now,
that
but that
happened.
Jewel,
Yeah.
She comes up with the names. All the
Yeah,
names.
he did too.
He could tell you there was a family that had like
He died a
15
year ago
kids.
last
And
August.
he
He
could
could tell you
tell
every
you-
name in chronological
He
order.
was bedfast.
And
That's hard to do with
dates
your
and-
sisters and brothers.
Yeah.
He broke his leg in that ice storm in 2007, and he never was able to. He got to where he could get around with a walker a little for a while, but he was pretty much in a wheelchair from then on. And then the last several years, he's got to where he couldn't get out. Bill pretty much had to lift him in and out of bed.
Well, let's throw Jennifer in that category too.
Yeah. Jennifer was in that category too. And Alan had to.
And Zachary.
Alan had to come to the aid.
Sometimes it took all of us to get him in and out of the bed, so.
oh,
It was quite a blessing to have as many people around to help as we did.
Oh,
I didn't
yeah.
have.
But he was quite a storyteller. He could remember a lot of things. I've got a lot of his stories. on video. And when Grandma and Dad would put him to bed at night, they would tape a lot of different stories and things like that. So
Didn't he have a brother named Vaughn?
He had a brother named Vaughn and one named Lester. Lester, I think, is the one that taught at Cheerful Hill. Because Jules told about Lester would ride a horse over there. And it was his job to saddle the horse and get it brought up to the porch every morning. And then when Lester got back from school, he took the horse, unsaddled him, and put him back in fed him, took care of him. And,
Now Vaughn married,
Ruth Perkins.
yeah, that's who it was. She was my friend. I remember.
She lived over there close to where you had lived for a long time.
Yeah,
with-
Lucille Webb. That was her sister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's still alive. She lives with her son's wife. Tom passed away
2 years ago.
2 years, coming up 2 years ago. And his wife, Judy, takes care of her. She's not in too good shape.
I think Ruth will be 90 her next birthday in March, I think.
I'm sure I'll let her to see that picture. I'd like someone to,
I had to be the executor for a friend's estate, and she never had any children, and she had only one sibling that had died years and years and years ago. And she had pictures of family and everything, none were labeled. I have no idea whether it's his side of the family, her side of the family, and I was like just guessing by looks. I was making copies and sending them out, and
you don't suppose you don't have any idea who that person is, do you?
Oh, no.
I don't either. We don't either.
It looks like a coddle.
Wasn't that in some of her pictures?
No, I don't think
Oh,
so.
it wasn't in Grandma's pictures? Oh, okay. Well, I'm mistaken then.
I think that come
Like
out
when
of
you
some
said it was-
pictures, I kind of think, come out of some of Claude Reed's pictures, I think Kirk Pierce has said that to me.
Buster's got 3 boys, and they got big long beards like that.
Yeah.
That's why I said, looks like a coddle.
Say Buster's still alive?
Oh, yeah. He's only 83.
he's
You
got
got
a
that
lot
picture,
more
don't
health
you?
problems.
You got that picture, don't you?
Nope.
Let me see that one.
That's Grandma Rachel. Oh,
I've
Grandma
seen that
Isabel.
That's-
Grandma called
that's
her.
Bill.
I thought they
That's
looked
who?
like,
That's Belle. That's Belle.
Yeah, I've
Marge.
seen that, Mom. That's your Grandma Belle.
I don't have it.
You don't have it, but we saw it on the Ancestry.com.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Margie looks like her.
Maybe.
You remember Margie? They used to call her Buttercup.
Yeah, Buttercup, that's all I knew her as. I think she got to where she didn't like to be called Buttercup, but that's all I knew her as.
Yeah, after she got grown up and
Now that's-
started dating, she didn't
that's
want to be
her
called
mother.
Buttercup.
That's Isabel's mother. That's Jane Tudor.
And the other one you showed me was her husband.
Yeah. John David.
Roxy, you've been out. You've been
They
out.
don't remind me of happy people.
Now that's who.
That's Belle's mother. Isabel's
Oh,
Really?
Jane Tudor, huh?
I said it went off.
come on.
Yeah, I got
She
to see
saw it though.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
There you go.
You know, it's really interesting to go through and keep adding people on, but it's really great to find a picture of them so you can actually see what they look like. Put a picture with the face, the
And when
face with the
Grandma
name.
would go to the doctor, she'd wear an apron
She's wearing
to
apron.
the doctor. She was a funny little lady.
But you would go in for like checkups, right?
Yeah, just for a
And I never thought about women that far back that would just go in for a checkup. I mean, they do it now all the time.
I remember going out to that maze when she stayed at that maze. She kind of went around and stayed with different people. Grandma
Oh,
Park.
yeah.
And I remember going out and seeing her at that maze and off at Lynn's when they lived out close to Lebanon. We'd go out and we'd see her every once in a while.
How old did she live to be?
I don't know how old Grandma Carter was when she passed away.
I can tell you in a little bit.
Well, that's all right. You can tell me another time.
Well, that may be, I sent that picture to someone who was related to her in, dang it, in California. They went west. Her family went west. And
You know, I just didn't know Cap and Vera too well. Cause I must be enough to remember they'd moved away.
Yeah, they were gone quite a while. You know, that Vera was at Pearl Harbor when they bombed
Yes,
Pearl
I
Harbor.
do know that. Yeah,
And
I remember
that.
her telling about that they hid under the kitchen
You got-
table.
you
That
got
family
that
picture
in
that was taken, that she's
Yeah.
got,
I've seen it
I
or
think-
have it.
was the first
I think
time
I've
she
got
had
that
come
on
back
On
home
the internet.
after she'd come from Hawaii.
And that
Because
might have
Bobby,
been your
when she
space
come
that
back,
came up when I
her baby
found it.
was just a baby, and then she had him strapped. He had it strapped to her back, and because she'd tell whenever they'd have some kind of
Well, if I don't find that picture, I'm gonna find it and I'll send it to you.
alarms
and
or
have-
something on the boat. I can't think
Right.
what I'm trying to say. Anyway, they would let her not come up because that baby was so heavy to carry up to the top. But anyway, that was the first trip home after he looks to be about a little over a year old in that picture, that family picture that we sent you. That was taken when she
That
come back.
baby, yeah.
So
Now, she only had the one child.
she had one and she adopted one,
Who is this mom that you're talking about?
Aunt Vera.
Vera and Cap.
And who are they?
Oh,
It'd be her aunt, St. Daisy and Uncle
Daisy's,
Bob.
Daisy and Bob's daughters. He had two daughters, Vera and Cat.
Daisy too?
And Daisy's daughters,
Kids.
Vera and Cap. She had 2 girls and 2 boys.
And Daisy did?
Yeah,
2 girls and 2 boys.
Mhm.
Okay. And one of them's name was Cap.
one was Captola.
Cap, they call her Cap, and Vera was the one that was in that picture, the family picture, and I was.
That you sent.
And Pearl Harbor was bombed in '41, and her baby was just 2 or 3 months old, or maybe 6 months old, I don't know at the time. And she got back to the United States, and I don't know, it was quite a while before she come home, but that was the picture, that family picture was taken when she come home.
So what was she doing at Pearl Harbor?
Her husband was in the
The
service.
Yeah.
And
Now, Cap, how many kids she had?
she had 3. 2 of them have passed away. And
I think this is the picture that you told me was Lawrence. And that's the picture you said it was Lawrence?
yeah, one of them says, anyway, the picture,
Picture there.
one of them was Lawrence,
She thought that was Lawrence.
the brother that died,
Oh, yeah. He died really young.
19, I think, is what it was, 19,
Yeah.
and
Daddy's brother.
Well, that's amazing. You even have a picture of him.
Well, it's not very good. It's in the old Model
8
T.
boys and 3
There's a
girls.
passenger in the old Model
How
T.
did they ever feed 8 boys?
But even then, they just didn't take that many.
No. But luckily, this bunch of people, they took pictures.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we've got Tabitha on here.
Mom even has a picture of her when she was like a toddler.
Yeah. Standing by a big stump.
I have a picture of who?
Me.
I'm not finding it.
Now, where did you grow up at?
Down there,
You know where we say Grandpa Cotton's house was?
yeah,
It was just kind of down in the holler from there.
yeah, it's in the holler.
It's along the road leaving out of there. It goes down and then it goes up and it's right there at that dip.
Then Daddy eventually bought Grandpa's place. And we
Well, there's
lived in that big old house
Jane
for a
Tudor
long
later in life.
time. It and the Grandpa house together. And then he finally built the new house.
Can't imagine how hard